Hello, welcome back to the podcast. My name is Andre Vildak, and today we are joined by a special guest. You may recognize him from shows like Peaky Blinders, Dracula Untold, The Witcher. He's an actor, Paul Bullion.
Hello.
Hello, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
So how's your morning been?
Yeah, fine. Walking around central London, and it was a lot colder than I anticipated. So yeah, it's nice to be warm now.
Yeah, so you've been productive already.
Yeah, I like to get out and about.
Could you tell us who you are and where you come from?
Paul Bullion, and I grew up in a little town called Newport Pagnell, which is in the borough of Milton Keynes. And I moved to London when I was 19 and been living here ever since. So 16 going on 17 years.
So how was growing up in Milton Keynes?
I think it was fine. I mean, it had everything you need, but it's a new town, so it lacked any history.
Okay.
Milton Keynes was developing as I was growing up, so I always kind of had my eye on London, and I just think I always wanted to move to London. And obviously, as I got older and I realised that to pursue maybe drama school, that I would have to probably move anyway. So yeah, and I find that I've kind of set my roots in London now, and London is home for me.
Okay. How often do you go back?
I've got very dear friends there, so I'm back all the time. Once a month, every couple of months. I've got very good friends from school, so
That's
I think
cool.
it's important to keep contact.
That's cool. But to fully understand where you're at, we need to understand where you started from. So can you tell us how old were you when your passion towards, storytelling and the performing arts became about?
I'm second of 4 children, so I think I've always kind of not fight for attention, but I don't know, I always used to like telling stories and making people laugh. And I remember going to like a holiday site as a kid, like it was like Butlins, but it was in Great Yarmouth when I was a small child, and I'd enter the talent show and I'd always try and do stand-up comedy, and it always revolved around doing impressions or trying to make people laugh. Mm-hmm. So I've always enjoyed performing. And then I think I took it more seriously as a teenager. I used to go to like a group at the weekends and would put on a musical once or twice a year.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I was studying at secondary school and one of my drama teachers said, have you thought about maybe doing a B.Tech instead of A-levels, go and study this maybe full time, which is what I did when I was 16. And it was all little steps really, because as I was doing that at 16, 17, only then did I really know what drama schools in London were.
Yeah.
So I just took it one step at a time until you kind of find yourself, okay, could be a viable option.
So was it something that you started liking it on your own by just, making jokes and, seeing how people reacted? Or was there any shows or films or TV stuff in particular that inspired you? I
think when I was a teenager, I did a production of West Side Story. It was the first time where you're doing something that isn't, kind of fluff.
Yeah.
It's quite serious topics. And I think I was like 13, 14 when I did that. So exploring topics like that, I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. And I was able to get a lot of frustrations out from being a teenager, from home life, from, whatever it was. I could just go and throw myself into a scene, and it's quite angsty as a show. Mm-hmm. And it felt quite therapeutic.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that.
So it was all for your own benefit, kind of.
Yeah, sounds really narcissistic, but because it wasn't to get noticed. Mm-hmm. It wasn't in that way. It wasn't. It was. Although I couldn't articulate it at the time, it just made me feel better.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. Like that's the same with me. I feel like, because when you perform on stage and you're a different character, you eventually, you get over all your fears you had as a person. I feel like, acting made me be like a different person who I maybe, strive to be.
It's a safe place to explore emotions that, maybe wouldn't be healthy to explore off stage.
Yeah.
If you don't have a therapist, and come on, who really had therapists at that age or regularly anyway. I think it was important for me to connect with these emotions I was having, and I was, you know, quite a overthinking teenager and child, and I had a lot of kind of angst that I needed to let out, and I think that was a safe place to do it.
You know, I feel like in Estonia we don't really have a roadmap to, you know, act in big films and stuff, but you were exposed to the possibilities at a quite early age. You got to audition for Ron Weasley in the Harry Potter films.
Yeah.
So how did that audition come along?
I was going to a group when I was young. I went when I was like 6. It was called Diamond Theatre School. We used to go on a Saturday, and my first time on stage was playing an Oompa Loompa.
Mm-hmm.
My brother stopped going, so I stopped going. It was just on like, it's all the locals from the kind of local town would go there on a Saturday. I stopped going, but then I rediscovered again when I was about 11, and it was like my first exposure to what a self-tape was. But,
so it was a self-tape.
yeah, well, the ladies that used to, the lady that ran Diamond Theatre School, a lady called Paula, she would always try and find opportunities for the kids, and I was 11 and Harry Potter was casting, and obviously Ron Weasley pops up, but I had a growth spurt like very quickly from the age of 11 to 12, and I was suddenly so much, not just taller, but broader.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I read to maybe double one of the Weasley twins or both the Weasley twins. But yeah, nothing came of it. But yeah, you used to have to sit there and, you know, learn the lines and
Mm-hmm.
do the self-tape, you know, and then self-tapes, I don't think were a thing for me again until maybe 10, 11 years later.
Yeah. But, you know, getting that audition, and as a kid, like, do you understand the scale that production is going to be? Or was it for you just a project you're going to do, you know?
I think like, ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I was 11. I wasn't a fan of the books. I wasn't aware of the books.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a paper round, and it was, yeah, I think it was foreshadowing what, you know, the career is like as an adult as well. You know, I found out through delivering newspapers in the morning who the cast were.
Oh, wow.
And it's not me then. Okay, so this Rupert fella's going to be playing Ron Weasley. But yeah, it was very fascinating kind of experience as a kid. And like I said, I never really did it for attention in that sense. I just found it made me calm.
Yeah.
And I think it still has that effect on me.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, seeing what was possible, you know, seeing the photo in the newspaper and all of that, did that make you think that it was all ever possible for you as well?
Of course. I mean, you don't understand the pathway to it. And I think the problem is what we are exposed to growing up is, you know, reality TV shows or talent shows or open calls, and you think, oh, you know, you've got to really be gifted or spotted or handed this opportunity for it to happen. But then I'm a strong believer as I've got older and, you know, I've kind of negotiated the industry or found my path through the industry. I kind of do believe that luck is obviously something that you require, but I do believe you can put yourself in situations where you get more lucky.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So like the kind of famous quote where, you know, luck is opportunity meeting preparation.
Love that quote.
It's not a case of I'm not where I want to be because this person isn't going to see me or that person's not seeing me. It's okay, well, I know that I'm going to look after myself the best I can, physically and mentally. I'm going to stay inspired. And if or when that door opens, whether it's now or in 10 years, would I have wasted that time being unmotivated? Or am I going to step through the door when it opens or kick it down at some point?
Yeah, I love that. I guess, you know, as actors, we need to have that belief that, you know, the door is one day going to show up and we're just going to kick it down and be ready for that.
I think it's a tough industry. There's no two ways about it. You know, it'd be great if everybody gets seen for everything, but the reality is we're not all suitable for every role that comes out. And I don't want to do every role that comes my way, every audition that comes my way. And it's just something I could say to other actors or actors that are getting into it is the only power you have is to say no and reserve the right to do that. Yeah. Otherwise, you're constantly going around with the kind of mindset or the attitude of I'm just so grateful for whatever I get. And I think sometimes you can leave yourself vulnerable to that kind of mindset. You know,
Yeah.
you want to be able to say, well, okay, well, do I like this script? And it doesn't matter whether you have a massive CV or if you've got loads of experience on set. If you're not going to enjoy performing that script or working on that script, you can say no because you're saving yourself time and you're saving the casting director time. And you know, nice casting directors, decent casting directors, they're not going to take that personally.
Yeah.
Because good casting directors don't have ego.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but you know, yeah, it's gonna go off topic, but you know, it's hard to say no when you've, let's say, you know, you've been waiting for a script for so long, and suddenly there's a script. I guess, you know, it takes a certain amount of, I guess, balls to kind of say no to something in this industry.
I think,
But I do agree that, you know, sometimes you just have to, and you just have to, you know, you know in your heart what's right for you. And
so I think availability is your best asset.
okay.
So the first thing a casting director is going to ask, whether you're a name or an unknown actor, is, are they available? And if you have said yes to another job out of fear, the answer to that is no, they're not available. So of course, when I graduated, you know, I wanted to get something on my CV. But as I went through the years, I realized that, is it an opportunity, is what I asked myself. Is it an opportunity to earn a bit of cash, decent bit of money? Or is it an opportunity to really enjoy the project?
Yeah.
Is it both? If it's neither of those things, then I'd rather do anything else and wait.
Yeah.
Do other jobs, wait. Because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm so desperate I'll just say yes to work because it's acting. Because I think part of that, it differs from person to person, but sometimes ego gets in the way. And they say, oh, well, it's an acting job.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like if your attitude is, you know, well, it's a job, you can do something else.
Yeah,
And it doesn't mean that you're quitting.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think don't quit. Just do something else for a bit and wait for for that, because there's not a time limit on acting.
Yeah, that's the best thing about it.
You know, as you grow, your casting type kind of changes as you get older, and that's exciting. Because then by default you're not playing the same characters all the time. So I think it's important to keep that for yourself, because it's a way of being kind to yourself and not being kind of not having a lack of respect for yourself by saying this is all I'm worth. I'm only worth this. Oh, they've offered that to me. That's all I'm worth. And I have done so many jobs other than acting just to be available. And so that's the opportunity meeting preparation, so that the casting director knows that I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm always going to be there. I'm never going to disappear completely. I might once in a while say, I don't want to tape for that, or I'm not taping for that, or, you know, but that's not coming from a place of arrogance. That's coming from a place of being in the industry for, you know, going on 16 years and knowing that if I'm not going to enjoy it, there's no real point in me doing it.
Yeah, it kind of loses the point, because, you know, that's what we as actors, I guess, seek is, you know, we want to do it because we enjoy it. And if the enjoyment goes away, then what's left really, you know?
That's why I got into it. I love doing it. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I never got into it for the money or fame. You know, it's kind of, those things happen as a consequence if you get into a popular show. I think we're our own worst enemies as well as actors. The news outlets can sometimes report inflated figures that some A-listers might get paid. We know it's not what most actors get paid.
Yeah.
So, you know, they'll see, Netflix actor or actor from XYZ. And, you know, I think Google thinks that I'm married and I've got children and that I'm worth something like 3.54 million or something.
No, low key. I googled your net worth just you know, for fun, and it did show like 5 million here, 3 million there.
It's 10 million nonsense.
And that you were married at some point.
What camera do I look down that one? Nonsense. It's
nonsense. Yeah.
It's nonsense. It's and I suppose I'm always quite open and honest. I don't like to talk about money because I think it's quite vulgar in that sense. I can tell you I'm not a millionaire. Like, I can tell you that for a fact. But I understand, you know, people read these reports and they go, well, if that person got paid that, they must get paid that. Look, it's not the way it works. And I think actors don't help with you know, portraying this. It comes into social media like a highlight reel.
Yeah. Okay, so records say that you also were into dance. So how did you get into dance?
I think there's a couple of home videos somewhere. I don't know which family member has them, but just dancing around my living room. And then as I got older, obviously doing local productions, you step, kick, and try to pirouette. And then I started dancing properly at 16. I did a bit of rock and roll when I was younger, but 16 is when I started ballet.
Okay.
The foundation of all dance, and that's when I really improved. And I ended up going to musical theatre college after that, and you dance for 20 plus hours a week. But I think it's really important to also state there's no set route into acting. Some of the best actors I've worked with are, you know, ex-ballet dancers. Jessica Brown-Findlay, Amy Bailey in Vikings. They're all they're professional ballet dancers before. They can express. And I found dancing really helped me coordinate, spatial awareness. When it comes to fight work, my coordination and spatial awareness through dancing kind of really helps me pick up choreography.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. You know, you went to study in musical theater, but was that because you, at that point, wanted to be a musical theater actor, or you just wanted to kind of improve in all those skills that you had?
I think I kind of had this mindset of the more skills I have, the more employable I'm going to be.
Okay.
But little did I know that sometimes you get pigeonholed. But you know, I don't look like your stereotypical musical theatre performer. I love it as an art form. I think just like films, there's great films and there's terrible films, and there's films that are somewhere in between. Same with musicals. There's great musicals. It all comes down to opinion, because there's musicals that I don't particularly like, but they've been running for many, many years because they've almost become tourist attractions, but also people's taste kind of varies. For me, I just loved expressing myself and dance and singing and acting. Just being creative was something that I always enjoyed, and I kind of went into it where I enjoy this, so I'm going to go and study everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously opportunities kind of guide where your career goes.
Yeah. So you left drama school in 2010.
2010.
So that's 10 years before me.
Yep.
So what was your first paid job after graduating?
I was very lucky. I left drama school a term early, but I was still able to get my degree. So I went into the original UK tour of Spamalot.
Okay.
And I was a swing, so I covered like 6 tracks in the show. And I saw it as like an extension of my training, because I was understudying so many parts and I had to really kind of work my headspace in a certain way. But it was weekly touring, and I found that quite difficult for over a year.
Okay.
So I was touring to different venues, and our day off was our travel day. So essentially you're working 7 days a week, because it's not like you can just chill out on your rest day.
Yeah.
You either jump in a car and drive overnight to the next venue, or you jump on a train the next day. And sometimes, you know, you're going from Glasgow to Brighton. I remember doing that.
Yeah.
And that takes your whole day to do that journey. So it was tough. It was a baptism of fire. And again, great opportunity. I got, you know, the cast album out of that. We did the cast album, and that was my first kind of paid job. But there was a kind of delay in that kind of graduate's kind of experience, because yes, I went straight into a show, but then my first year out of drama school, there were so many casting directors that hadn't seen me because I was off around the country.
Yeah.
So it was an opportunity to get something on my CV, but then I felt like there was
you were away.
a bit of a lag when I finished that tour.
Yeah, I see.
He's like, where have you been? I've been on tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how did that feel, you know, after drama, you know, you leave drama school and straight away you're working and you're very busy, you know, as you said, 7 days a week. So how did that feel? Did you feel like, yeah, damn, that's what I want to do?
Yeah.
Kind of, you know, as in like, did you ever want to slow down, or you were like, okay, what's next? Kind of.
I think I was ready to finish the job when it finished. I saw the end of the tour as an opportunity to then be available.
Yeah.
So, you know, they would offer you the next tour, but I'd done it. So they might offer you a couple of more first covers rather than being second cover. But, you know, nothing wrong with saying thank you so much for the offer, but I'm going to leave. You know, the end of the contract is going to be the end of the contract. My mindset at the time was, even if I don't book something else, I just need to get my face in front of other casting directors.
And soon after you made your, shift into acting in films and TV. So was that kind of something you wanted after having toured for a year, or was that something that kind of happened naturally?
It's a bit of both. I had to obviously show my agent that I could do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because at drama school, they'd seen me do Jerry Springer the Opera and Cats.
Yeah.
So I was dressed as a cat, and I can't turn around and go, oh, I just want to do TV and film.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it helps. I'm 6'3" and I've got red hair, and it's a strong look for certain roles, and it's the wrong look for many roles.
Mm-hmm.
So I volunteered myself for student films, and there was a student film I did at the London Film School, and there was 20 seconds of footage in that film that I was pretty proud of, and that was my show reel, just 20 seconds of a scene. And then I got a couple of adverts, but then again, it's that it's not a delusional belief, but if you don't believe in yourself, then you're going to go in, and casting directors aren't going to feel confident in if you're trying to impress them, rather than going in with the mindset of, this is how I'll play the part.
Yeah.
And then any decision that comes out of that is out of your control. Mm-hmm. But I remember with my first TV job was like 2 lines in Endeavour, the ITV kind of crime drama. One of my lines got cut, but I still had a line in it.
Yeah.
But then, and then good casting directors, they believe their own instinct. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have much on my CV. I had the Spamalot tour. I did a production of Guys and Dolls, Endeavour, a couple of adverts, and then Shaheen Baig kept getting me into audition for things. Mm-hmm. And she was wonderful. I did a straight to DVD film called Hello Carter, where I had a couple of lines as a police officer.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I'm at the table read, and I've just been cast as Billy Kitchen in Peaky Blinders. And I think it's every audition you go to, you're not just auditioning for that project. Mm-hmm. I think I've been seen by Shaheen over 10 times before I got Peaky.
Yeah. It's kind of building that image and that kind of leaving that impression that you can do the job until the role that's right for you comes.
That's it. As an actor, you're a puzzle piece that's trying to solve the puzzle of a project.
Yeah.
So a casting director has a task, or the creatives, along with the casting director, have a task of putting together this cast. And you're floating around waiting for that opportunity. And I do believe that sometimes it doesn't matter what your experience is. Sometimes you're just perfect for that part.
Yeah.
And I think that was the case with Peaky. I'd never kind of, I didn't know what the show was. I wasn't aware of it. I joined in season 2, but season 1 had just been released, and it was on BritBox, and it wasn't like, it was kind of this kind of under the radar kind of cool, kind of crime show. Yeah. But the title, you think Peaky Blinders is some kind of comedy, and then you read the script, I know it's far from it.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. There's some dark humor in there sometimes, but I think I was 25, 10 years ago. I was 25 when I got that part. Mm-hmm. So again, every job you get is an opportunity to learn. I was 25. I was working front of house at the Dominion Theatre. I was selling bottles of Carlsberg out of the backpack, and that's what I'd do. That was my job. I'd walk around the auditorium selling bottles of Carlsberg. The next day I'm in the makeup chair next to Tom Hardy. It's just the way the industry is. Yeah. And I think it's very honest. It's important to be very honest with people and say that, these opportunities are fantastic, but don't run away with it, because, I went straight from filming that back to front of house, working on bars. And when the show came out, I was selling ice cream front of house, and that was when it was on BBC Two, and it was being released every week. It wasn't on the streaming services yet. Mm-hmm. And, for a few weeks after that, I'd get some people watching the show, and then they'd buy an ice cream and then want a photograph. Yeah. That's the reality, you know. Unless you come from a lot of money, when you're starting out your career, you've got to do what you need to do to pay your rent.
So let's take it back a bit. Do you remember receiving that audition for Peaky Blinders?
I was cycling down Archway Hill on my way to work, and my phone's buzzing. So I get off my bike in London. I cycle everywhere, and I get off my bike, answer the phone. It's my agent, and they said that Shaheen Baig wants to see you for a character in Peaky Blinders.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what's Peaky Blinders? And they said, it's all in the email. It's a black country accent. And I was going to work that night. And I always think honesty is the best policy. And I just rang the theatre and said, I can't come in tonight because I had to go in the next day
Yeah.
to the audition. And I couldn't have learnt the accent if I was stood behind the bar. So I said, I'm really sorry that I've got an audition that's come in. And it used to fill me with anxiety.
Yeah.
Having those conversations with employers. But now I'm with the mindset of if you need to have that conversation, be honest about it, and but also see if they can move the audition. Again, like because if they're serious about wanting to see you, the industry's changed now with most of it being self-tapes. But you know, if you need to extend a deadline, ask. There's no harm in asking about things like that. But yeah, so I went home. I had a dialect coach called Abigail Langham. We Skyped because Zoom wasn't a thing at the time. And we Skyped and we went through the script, and I spent most of the night just drilling the accent. And I went into Soho and had the audition the next day, and didn't hear anything for a few weeks, and then got a phone call to go back in. And the second audition, you know, I made sure that I drilled the accent even more. And I, by that point, watched a couple of the episodes from season 1, so I had more of a feel for it. And and then I was cast a couple of weeks after that.
When you received that audition, did you feel right for the role?
They're rare when they come through, but when you start reading those roles, it just feels right.
Yeah.
I know that sounds really bizarre to say, but it does. It just felt like my energy.
Yeah.
You know, same with other roles in my career. You just go, okay, well, I could do this.
Yeah.
I could really see myself doing this. And it's hard when you get close to those jobs, and I don't think that ever leaves in your career. You know, when there's a job you really want, you know, it's hard to just forget about it.
Yeah, completely agree.
There are ways, you know, that I handle those kind of things where, you know, I'd have the scripts. If I'm doing a self-tape now and I really like the project, after I finish the self-tape, I'd put the script in the bin. Not great for the environment, but it's a way of me going, okay, line under that, whatever comes of it will come of it. So
I've started doing that as well. I don't know where, but I heard some actor doing it, or like giving that advice somewhere. So I was like, okay, let me try it. And now every audition, every self-tape, I just bin the script straight after.
Yeah, I think it's important. Otherwise, you're constantly going, oh, I wonder about that. And the hope, and it's the hope that kills people, right? So, you know, it's a way of taking control of the situation. Again, having some respect for yourself, because casting directors are busy, you know, and if it's an initial tape, they literally don't have the time to tell everybody thanks but no thanks. But if I think from a second tape or a recall or an in-person meeting, it really should be communicating where they are with the process. But casting directors are busy, and that has to be respected.
Yeah, I've noticed now some casting directors have the system like Tagmin or something, you know, that you can open like a link and it says if that role has already been cast, or, you know, what's the situation.
I mean, it's
not all of them.
There's so many casting directors, and it's so inconsistent from casting office to casting office, and you know, and sometimes, you know, you don't know what the situation is. Sometimes the casting director, you know, is, you know, a big fan of your work, or they love what you do, but you know, they've got to try and convince 10 producers. You know, if you're playing something beyond an episodic role, you know, you've got to be signed off by X, Y, and Z. So their powers can go so far, and you know, they're over so many projects at once sometimes. And you know, the industry, although it's small in some sense, it's still vast. You know, I'm 15, 16 years into the industry, and I still have casting directors that I've never met. So that's just the way it is.
So do you remember what hill were you riding down when you received the news that you got the part?
Was I riding down? Oh no, I was. It was my girlfriend at the time. It was in the morning, and it was a Friday morning, and my agent at the time phoned me, and She just said, "How are you?" When it starts like that, I normally know it's an offer of some kind. Otherwise, you get straight to the business and say, you've got this audition or that audition. And she, we both knew that I was waiting, because the last thing that Colin McCarthy, the director, said to me in my final audition was, we've got to make a decision pretty quickly, but can I just ask you not to shave? So we've got options for looks. And that was the last thing he said. So I was like, I don't, okay, but that's
so your beard was up to here already.
Well, it kind of fills me with hope, it fills me with hope, because you've just told me to, not change my appearance, but you're going to let me know whether I've got the part in it, So anyway, and she asked me how I was, and I said, I'm great. Any news? And she said, would you like to do Peaky Blinders? And I said, yeah.
Of course.
So that was that. And I just remember just feeling so light for the rest of that day.
Yeah.
And then, at that point we didn't know that Tom Hardy was in it as Alfie Solomons, and I knew that I had a lot of scenes with this character Alfie Solomons, and again, like just soaking it all in, learning from it, and being glad that it happened.
Yeah.
But also knowing that me working front of house, being available for auditions in the day early on in my career was the priority.
Yeah.
I did bar work, and I did like, one of the jobs I had was like an agency job where I was a barista. I make a good cup of coffee, and I'd go out.
That's why you denied my cup of coffee I offered before.
We would go around as these agency baristas, and if there's a place that's short of baristas that day, we'd go and fill the gap. But then the good thing about that is, you just say, I'm not available on this day, I'm not available on that day.
Yeah.
And for me, that's about availability being your best asset. And had I not done those jobs, I would have soured some kind of relationships, I think, because I would have said, I can't do it. It's not that, saying you can't do it is different from saying you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it is absolutely fine. You can't do it is about availability. And I think some advice I'd give is just be open and honest. We have to survive.
Yeah.
London's a very expensive place. The world is an expensive place now, so you have to earn money. And back then, the good old days, I feel really old, but pre-pandemic, you go in to an in-person audition, you've got to take time off work, no guarantees of getting the part.
Yeah.
You get recalls, twice, 3 times. That's a lot of time off work. Before you know it, you're short on rent. And then you're extending your overdraft, or you're putting things on your credit card because that opportunity of an audition that you want. And now the double-edged sword is it's mainly self-tapes now.
Yeah.
So you don't get to read the energy of the room. You don't get to show your energy in the room. It's on a tape, which is great because you can do a full day's work, come home, self-tape in the evening, self-tape 2:00 in the morning if you need to.
Yeah.
And get that deadline, but it's hard because you've got to survive.
Yeah, I mean, self-tapes are comfortable, but you do miss out on making those connections and long-lasting impressions. I feel like
I think it's hard because even when they ask to see your physique or your full body shot, to see your stature, it just doesn't look the same on the camera. Because point and reference. You can say like I'm 6'3", but on camera, if you're stood by yourself, I could be 4'9".
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that's a bit of an odd one when they ask for that, because it's like, maybe I should just get a little cardboard cutout of different heights.
Yeah.
This is me a little bit smaller.
Yeah, like a mock shot.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, or maybe a measuring. I don't know. It's an odd one, but I do feel there should be place in the industry still for those in-person kind of meets.
Yeah. So how was it from selling Carlsberg and ice cream during the day, and then suddenly working alongside Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy?
Amazing. Obviously, I also had to, again, going back to having the respect for yourself, you can get overwhelmed in those situations. And obviously, they've had amazing careers. And, I personally hope Cillian Murphy gets the Oscar.
Yeah, it was
for Oppenheimer.
Good performance.
Sensational man and actor. So warm. Same with Tom. I remember when he came into the trailer for the first time, And he said, "Oh, Paul, you're playing Billy Kitchen." I said, "Yeah." And he pulled my makeup kind of apron off of me, and he was like, "Give me a hug." We had a hug.
Wow.
And straight away I was like, "Oh, okay, we can work now." You know, it stopped any barrier. And it's that idea of, you know, because when you first see Billy Kitchen in that rummery, he's in a way he's playing higher status. You know, he's staring down Alfie Solomons.
Yeah.
And I'm 25, and in my head I'm like, okay, so I'm meeting Bane. You know?
Yeah.
So but then you remind yourself that I've been given this role for a reason. They trust me, and I've got a job to do, and we're both just doing a job.
Yeah.
And that kind of status of, oh, they've done a lot more than me, therefore I'm just going to surrender everything.
Yeah.
I don't think that's conducive with producing good work.
Yeah.
You have to take pride, and also, you know, respect in your work, and say, okay, well, I've been cast as this role, so I have a right to be here.
Yeah, that's the way I take it as well. One of my recent roles was I had like a one-liner in a project, and it was next to like a big actor, and then I took my cue when he got to a certain spot in the room, but he just didn't go there, so I didn't get my cue. I never got my cue. And then, you know, even though, you know, he had done so much more than me, I had to confront him and be like, "Yo, sorry, but you don't go to your spot. I can't take my cue."
Of course, but
and
that's,
you know,
that's
because
being a
we're
professional.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, and it's taking pride in your work, and you've got to be that person sometimes to say, "Sorry, can we figure this out?"
Yeah.
we need to talk about this. You know, regardless of your amount of involvement in a project, you know, your responsibility is to play that role, and also, you know, help tell the story. What's the best way to tell the story?
Yeah.
And in that situation, your line was being compromised because you weren't sure where the actor was going to be. So you say, "Look, you know, can we kind of make this smoother?"
Yeah.
Often, sometimes as well, like, you want to be on set, and your job is to kind of find out the best way of telling the story.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a case of saying, "I think I can do that with a look," or "This line isn't working." And good directors or writers, if they're on set, they will be open to trying it.
Yeah, that was a one-liner. I didn't think I want to give it with a look.
Yeah. But it just goes to say that you should feel like you should be able to say if you need help to get to that point.
Yeah, that's what I find, you know, so lovely, because you might be with much more experienced actors, but, you know, when you work together, you're all on the same level, and that's what's so, I guess, beautiful about it. So you continued working as an actor, you know, and fast forward a few years, The Witcher came along. So do you remember what was the moment when you received that call or audition?
That was quite a long process, actually, because from the first audition even to finding out that I had a recall, you didn't even know that you had to have an educated guess as to what you auditioned for, because everything was under wraps.
Okay.
So you could guess from the fact that it was Sophie Holland's office, and that the script was very much fantasy based. I was like, okay, this is clearly The Witcher. And I guess I was thinking maybe it's Lambert that I'm auditioning for. And then I think it was a month that had passed before I got a call to say, okay, well, it's The Witcher and they want to see you for Lambert. So you've got a recall. These are some extra scenes. And I went into Spotlight, and I felt like in person again, like Sophie was brilliant at getting the best out of me. Try it like this, or I like that, keep that, now try this. And that's what's missing from self-tapes. You do it till you're happy.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that's also, you know, a good way of doing it. Do it till you're happy. Don't give yourself too many options. But, so Sophie was brilliant, and they have a lot of people that need to sign off on, you know, on a recurring character like that. So I had to wait, and I got a similar phone call. I answered the phone. I just had a very long day build theatre sets, and I was covered in sawdust. I was on the bus. I was living in southeast London at the time. I had all my tools in the bag, and the phone call came through at like 10 p.m. And normally, it's my agent is saying, "Okay, 6 o'clock,
Yeah,
it's done." Yeah, and I respect that.
of course.
You know, everyone's got a life. And my agent works very hard. Cut to 10 o'clock. Hello? Yeah. Everything okay? And she's like, yeah. How are you? I'm good. Where are you at the moment? I said, I'm on the bus. Oh, okay. Do you want to do The Witcher then? And that was probably 2 months after my original audition.
Mm-hmm.
And it was before season 1 had even aired.
Okay.
So yeah, it was incredible. But I kept saying to myself, you're doing this, you're keeping yourself available. I've had to, say no to certain things because there comes a point where you want to test yourself.
Yeah.
And if I'd taken a line here or a line there at that point in my career, I might not have been available to do The Witcher. So I've actually got a story about the kind of missing opportunities, but then the universe kind of comes back around. I was up for To Kill a Mockingbird, the West End transfer from Broadway, and the audition went really well. And in my head, I was thinking, 6 months in the West End. It's not a massive commitment, but it's an amazing production. That'd be lovely to work in the West End again in a play. And then it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to my agent, this doesn't normally happen, but this one's quite hard to take because I would have loved to have done a Broadway transfer to the West End. This one's going to take a couple of weeks to swallow, that's what I said. But had I got To Kill a Mockingbird, I wouldn't have been available to even audition for The Witcher.
Oh, really?
So that you've got to, think about those scenarios.
Yeah.
And not get too hung up when you don't get a job, because I believe that it's not your job to begin with.
Yeah.
You can't convince, 10 producers that you're the person for the job. If you're not their vision, you're not their vision.
Mm.
It doesn't matter how great you can read the scenes or how many options you can give. Somebody else might be just more suited to their vision.
Yeah. So how did you start preparing for the role?
So it was 2 stages really. There was a false start because the pandemic then kicked in.
Okay.
So I went for my costume fittings. I went to get my lenses fitted in Kensington, I think it was. I went to this opticians and they measure your eyes and then they get the coloured lenses and the big black lenses as well. And then I had a couple of screen tests at the studio, which was in Arborfield at the time for season 2. And it was all ramping up. And then you just hear all these stories of, have you heard this production's just shut down? This production's just shut down. And then you're like, okay, what's happening here? And then it was only a matter of time. And Witcher was shut down. And we had 7 months of lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a flat in southeast London with 2 friends. And I did a lot of baking. I made a lot of pizza. And then we got the phone call or the email from the showrunner saying that we've got a way forward and that we're able to go in, I think it was like 2 months from that point.
Okay.
This is how we're going to get it done. And then we learned about all the safety measures that were in place, and Netflix were brilliant at that, keeping us all safe. And I rang my old dance partner from Guys and Dolls because I knew that she was transitioning into being a personal trainer.
Mm.
Leanne Marshall Fitness, shout out to Leanne. She's brilliant. And I said, I need to get into serious Witcher shape.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, eat this, lift this. And I did that religiously for 2 months and I got into the shape of my life. And I've been working with her ever since.
Mm-hmm.
And apart from that, obviously reading the books, and I played a lot of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
When a production gets put on a hold, it must have been quite emotional. Did you ever think that maybe they're going to cancel it altogether?
Yeah. And that's not because I was thinking there's whispers or, that was never whispered from Netflix at all that, they would cancel the show.
Mm.
But I think recent years have shown that even until you're in the lunch line, until you're, having your lunch or a coffee on set, you can't really believe it's happening.
Yeah.
I was there having screen tests. I had wardrobe tests, and then I felt like I'd been snatched away. Mm. and I was struggling with it, to be honest. You know, I went from you know, living a very creative kind of outlet for a few weeks, and we were going into production, to being stuck in at the time a tiny little box room in a flat share, and I wasn't allowed out of the house.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realised until I got to the other side of it that, you know, that it really was affecting me. And then when we started back up, so grateful to have the opportunity to get it done. And I don't think I've ever been more emotional than hearing the words "it's a wrap" on Lambert. On any other job, because I was thinking it's finally in the can.
Yeah.
You know, and what they do with it in the edit is up to them, you know. But I know that I finished my side of the job, and it took many, many months to get there because of the delays of the pandemic. And even now, you know, we had the strikes, obviously needed to be supported in America, and that's affected a lot of work in the UK. So it's been a rough few years of it, because you can never get into the rhythm.
Yeah.
So okay, we have to wait. Okay, we'll wait another few months. Okay. Why are we waiting this time? Okay, that's happening. Okay, yeah, no, great, and that needs to happen. It needs to happen. But at the same time, you know, you want to work. But you know, for long-term benefits, you have to sometimes say, you know, this is what we expect as professionals. We want to be treated with dignity, and, you know, get a fair slice of the pie. If you're changing how people are consuming their content, you need to make sure there's a shift in everything else as well.
I guess you need to understand it. You know, there's no way around it. Which is it's either now or, you know, later, but it must happen. You know, in The Witcher, you had a lot of sword fighting. How did you prepare for that?
My good friend Jonathan Holby would go down to Beckenham Park and just get some swords out and just have a play, which is quite funny when people are walking their dogs and they just see two grown men just fighting. Beckenham Green. He's a wonderful friend, and I really thank him for helping me with that. I've always enjoyed sword work, but he really went into detail, and so when we ended up going on set to do the stunt calls and the fight calls, I was pretty comfortable.
How many days of preparation did the production give you?
You'd get called in. If you're not filming that day, you'd go over to the stunt team, and you'd do like a workout and a bit of boxing, coordination work, and just some combinations with the swords. And then obviously it's going to change once you get on set, because things happen. Oh, you can't do that, the camera's there, or, you know, this table's now here, so you need to rejig that, and you just have to be adaptable. You
know, The Witcher is based on the book series of the same name, and there's also a game, so there was already a huge fan base. For example, you know, approaching Lambert, did you strive to make it as close to the video game as possible, or did you kind of take the risk of making it different but maybe upsetting the fans? Or, you know, I don't know, how did you approach that?
I wanted to make Lambert my own. I didn't want to do an impersonation. One, I don't look anything like the avatar of the game, and there's enough information out there, and it was quite clear the energy that Lambert had, and the famous limerick. So I just made him very prickly, and I think it's important to put your own spin on things. And whilst I respect the computer game is very, very popular, I think I'd be at a loss if I was going in to do an impersonation. You've got to do an interpretation, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, once more you had the chance to work alongside the industry heavyweight, like, you know, Henry Cavill. So how did the cast and crew welcome you into the season? Because you just joined the second season, you know.
They were very welcoming indeed. Henry was a gentleman. He came and introduced himself. And I got on very well with a lot of the cast that were there in season one. A lot of new characters joining in season two, so you didn't really feel like the new guy.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of new characters joining, so all going through this experience together. And then I think it brings people very close when you achieve something like that through a pandemic. So it's very different from other jobs that I've had. So yeah, definitely drew us close.
Do you still stay in touch with anyone?
Yeah, I'm very good friends with Zaitz, who plays Cohen, Basil. So the other witches, and Misha. So plays Francesca. So yeah, and I'm friends with some of the creatives. You know, it's just been it was an interesting experience because of the pandemic, and you know we'll never forget that.
Yeah. When The Witcher came out, it was obviously seen by millions of people around the world, and therefore your image as an actor got more popular, let's say. So did you see any change at all? For example, your social media growth?
Yeah, I mean, I actually got COVID the day it dropped. I got up and I started shaking and went straight back to bed. I went to bed and I woke up like 10 hours later and I'd gained something like 40,000 followers on Instagram or something, which was just bizarre. And I think for it to happen when you're in your 30s, you can just take it with a pinch of salt because it is smoke and mirrors. You know, I've been an actor for many, many years, and you got to remember, you separate yourself from the character.
Yeah.
People love the character. You can't let that stuff go, oh, it must be me.
Yeah.
I must be amazing. It's, you know, they love the show.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet when, you know, there's fan art coming through, and I always it'd make me smile that someone would take time out of their day to draw a Ginger Lambert. You know, it was lovely, and yeah, it was bizarre in the sense of, because I had COVID, obviously I isolated, and then I was doing my tax return, and I went out for a coffee, and I'd forgotten that it'd been released. I'd seen it on a kind of private link a couple of weeks before it was released on Netflix officially, and so I knew what the show was looking like. And then I went for a walk to get a coffee, and suddenly people in the high street were screaming.
Wow.
But at first I was confused, and then I remembered that obviously the show had been released. And you know, like anything, you get recognised for a couple of weeks after it gets released, and then it kind of dies down. And you know, I'm happy to stop and have photographs with Witcher fans, and yeah, it'd have to be big Witcher fans to recognise me, but you know, it still happens from time to time, and I'm happy like to stop and have that photograph and have a little conversation with them, because if it puts a smile on their face, it's no skin off my nose. It's wonderful that people have such a connection to the show.
You gained over 40K followers, you know, almost immediately, as you said. Did you become more selective about what you post on social media afterwards?
Before Witcher happened, I'd become a little bit cynical about social media anyway. It has evolved since it first came out. Facebook, I think, came out in my second or third year of drama school. Twitter, I think I joined in 2011, and both of them I got rid of in 2020, I think it was. I don't like being a slave to my phone. I don't like being a slave to social media. And I said, why have I got these platforms? You know, I've got friends. If they want to contact me, they can contact me on my phone. They don't have to go through, because I can't stand it when people say, well, I put it on Facebook. Oh, where were you at my birthday? I put it on Facebook. Yeah. Okay, I didn't go on Facebook. Sorry. So yeah, I got rid of Facebook, and not just deactivated my account, deleted it. Same with Twitter. I started using Twitter when I was 21, 22, and I've always been hyper aware that whatever you put on there is public domain. So I never put anything bad on there. But by the time things were kicking off with Witcher, there's 10 years worth of tweets, all of them like kind of pointless. Some of it was from my student years of being at a party as a student, and nothing, like I say, nothing bad, but it's like pointless photographs of me so publicly. And but that's because at the time it was more social. But there's nothing really social about social media. It's
it's the opposite, actually.
It's the opposite. And I think I just thought, I can't keep up with all these platforms. So I think that Instagram is a useful tool. I don't think it's necessary. However, if you do want to share some content behind the scenes, trailers for things you might be in, it's a really useful tool for that.
You mean in terms of like marketing yourself as an actor?
Yeah, but not oversharing personal things.
Yeah.
I think it's very important, you know, unless you're like a reality TV star, and it's fine if that's your bag, then great. But I'm an actor.
Yeah.
I'm also a human being, so I'm not gonna live my life like an open wound. And I'm happy to share experiences, the triathlon work that I do, the charity work, shows that I'm in, the occasional kind of song. I love to play guitar, just a hobby of mine. But yeah, I'm not going to live my life like an open wound and say, I'm dating this person. Or, for me, you want to keep your private life private. For me, I understand there's other people that use it in a different way, but I think as an actor it's important to have some privacy.
But that's, I assume that's only because you have all those followers. If you only had your friend group, would you treat it differently? Maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think you're right. If I don't see it as, because it's all relative, it's however many followers I've got now, it's a lot more than I used to have, but I still feel like unless you watch The Witcher, you don't know who I am. And I'm very aware of that. So I never assume that people know who I am. I'll never flex that or anything. I will treat social media as a tool and understand whatever you put on your social media, you have to be able to stand by.
Yeah.
I think social media became a place pre-pandemic, well, especially through the pandemic, people were just screaming at each other. And that's not healthy. Keyboard warriors and the rest of it, I don't want to engage with that. I want to live and let live. Obviously, stand up for things that you believe in, but at the same time, there's just the noise is too much.
Yeah.
And like I say, I downloaded all of my media, all of photos of my nieces and nephews and my friends and memories from drama school and all those core memories that I've got. And then I completely deleted Facebook. And the same with Twitter. Back in the day in 2011, people would just have like chats of like publicly, where are you? I'm in this place. And that would be a tweet. But you knew that it was public. But you're just saying, I'm in this pub, come and join. I just had endless pointless tweets. So I thought, what's the point? What am I going to put on Twitter that I'm not going to put on Instagram?
Yeah.
I was aware that it's public domain, so I just wanted to streamline everything.
I'm considering deleting Twitter as well, or X, how they call it now.
I just don't engage with it. And do you know what? I don't miss it in the slightest. I think it's important to spend time off of your phone, not obsess about it. People need to remember that social media is essentially a highlight reel. And I think as actors, you need to remember that people will put in the best of themselves out there. So don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself, because it's going to be far from reality.
No, that's true. Yeah. Edited, best moments,
all of that.
Yeah, exactly. Just the highlights, as you said.
It's a highlights reel. And then people say, I'm not where this person is, or, that person's there. And just be on your own path. Be on your own path. Have a laugh at the same. You can take your work seriously. Don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah. You can have a laugh, and I think that's so important. But let's talk about some of the content you post on social media. For example, I found out about you on Twitter. I think it was during the pandemic. You posted a cover of 9 Crimes by Damon Rice. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I forgot about that one. And then I found out about you, and I initially started following you because of singing videos. Oh, wow. Do you post those singing videos because is it like a strategic move to kind of, show yourself as an actor and your kind of skills, or is it kind of to connect with fans? Or I don't think it's because of skills, because I think there's plenty of singer-songwriters out there that have more talent in their little finger when it comes to that. I do it because I enjoy doing it, and I'm not gonna not do it just because I'm like, I'm not sensational at this, therefore I'm not gonna share it. It's something that I like, and I'm not losing any of my privacy by sharing music that I like. Yeah. And versions of songs that I like, or making a version of a song that I like. I don't lose any privacy by doing that.
Okay, so it's kind of like a diary, but very like kind of on the surface, right?
It's a creative outlet, but it's
Yeah.
not me going. It's just not me sitting there going, employ me,
Yeah.
because
No, yeah, that's not what I meant.
I'm very aware that I've got a lot of friends who are actor musos, and their level of musicality is beyond anything I'll ever be able to accomplish. And that's not me being negative. That's just me being honest.
Yeah.
I love playing guitar. I love singing. It's something I did from the age of 13. I taught myself to play guitar. And I used to go to open mic nights. Whilst I was a student, I'd take myself around London, Camden Town. I'd go to the outskirts of London, wherever a pub would have an open mic night. And I would happily just have a release where I could sit there with my guitar and sing, and it wasn't to do with performing the song or delivering the song in the way that we did at school, at drama school, where we would study musical theatre. It was just an outlet, and that's all it is now. So, you know, people can take it or leave it.
Looking at your social media, it's obvious that fitness plays a big part in your life. Can you delve deeper into your athletic journey and kind of what kind of sports are you involved in?
So when I was at school, I was the captain of the athletics team. Okay. I was a good long jumper, high jumper and sprinter. The sprinting was mainly because I was so much bigger than everybody else. And I used to do cross country, and I used to run on my lunch breaks. And it's always been the same thing. It was, for me, I see myself as like a big golden Labrador. I need to be exercised. If I don't have the exercise, my head becomes a bit cloudy, and then it can really have a negative effect on how I feel. Yeah. When I was on tour with Spamalot, I really needed to find a gym at each venue, because I had just had 3 years of regimented kind of dance classes and fitness and body conditioning, and that stops as soon as you leave drama school. So I had to come up with my own system, and so I found, you know, running on treadmills until I was exhausted. And there was a line that I think I crossed in my 20s where I would overdo it. Okay. And as I've got older, I've got wiser, and I've found triathlon. I now split my workouts. I do a lot more swimming. I still run, but I've kind of eased back on the running as much, but I do my cardio through swimming and cycling. Yeah. And I still run from time to time. And now I do it because if nothing else is happening, if I haven't had a self-tape for a month or two, I know that I've done something that's kind for my body and mind by taking myself for a workout. And it's not about like getting a good physique as a side product of it. You know, I really do thank Leanne for that. My relationship with food is that it's fuel, but you can enjoy it from time to time as well. You know, and that's important. Having a good physique can be a byproduct of it, but number one for me is for my mental health. And I swim like most mornings now. Okay. And it's all about efficiency. So I took out a membership where I can use any of a particular leisure centre around London. So no matter where I am, I can find a pool nearby, pair of goggles, swim cap, and some trunks. Doesn't take up much space. You go in there, you do it. And even just yesterday, I was at the pool, and the lifeguard was hilarious. Bless him. He was only young. I think he was about 17, 18. And he said, are you in The Witcher? And I said, yeah. And he said, why don't you go to David Lloyd? I said, this is 10 minutes from my house. Yeah. But it's that idea that, you know, all actors are millionaires. Yeah. They can spend £300 a month on a gym membership. So it just made me laugh, and it was sweet. And he was telling me about what his ambitions were. I think it's important to kind of get rid of that smoke and mirrors. There's two things that I believe to be true. You can't take criticism to heart. And you can't let compliments go to your head as an actor. That's so important, because it's all just opinion. Yeah, exactly. And if you go around going, well, people are saying I'm amazing, you get like an inflated ego. Yeah. And you start like, I don't know. You become more vulnerable. Yeah, and you come out of joint with reality. Yeah. And I think taking criticism to heart, whether it's from a professional, from a creative team or a casting director, yes, it's nice to get feedback. It's important to get feedback sometimes, but also remember it's opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes casting directors, they've all got a flavour, a taste that they go for. That's why some casting directors, see actors that other casting directors don't. Because they're like, well, this is kind of the energy that I like.
Yeah.
So I never really take that to heart. Of course, again, just to take it back to social media quickly, sometimes people say stuff just because they want to get noticed.
Yeah.
And they'll say something quite abusive, and you just go,
yeah,
thanks. But yeah, you just don't respond, you don't engage,
But about your sports journey, I feel like everybody has those kind of unforgettable kind of achievements, for themselves. So what has been your kind of biggest achievement, let's say, for yourself that you're the most proud of?
The first Ironman that I did in 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, I had a really tough breakup at the time. I was in love with this lovely lady. It didn't work out, and I needed to put this anxiety and this heartbreak into something. I could have gone one or two ways. I could have sat and wallowed in that. And it was important to feel all the emotions and speak to my friends about how I was feeling, but I needed to use that as fuel to do something positive. So late one night, I signed up to Ironman UK, and I had never ran a marathon, and I had never done a triathlon.
Wow.
So I knocked them both off in one go. I know normally people build up to an Ironman, but I knew I was fit. I used to swim a lot as a teenager for my hometown. I was always cycling. I'd cycled to Glasgow from London for air ambulance a couple of years before.
Wow.
And I just thought, well, once I got the swim and the bike out of the way, I just need to keep moving. And I signed up with 12 weeks to go.
Okay.
And then I just started running everywhere. I was working on stage door at the Criterion Theatre, and I did some bar work there as well. I used to just run from Charlton to central London, Piccadilly. It's like a 10.5 mile run. I used to just do that as just part of my training, and then cycle sometimes and swim every lunch break. And I did my first Ironman on an entry-level road bike. Cost me £399. Some bikes there are worth £20,000, and I'm there on this £400 aluminium frame road bike. And I did it in 12.5 hours. And you get a 17-hour cut-off. And I was emotional coming down that finishing chute, and they say, Paul Bullion, you are an Ironman.
Yeah.
And I turned something very negative into a positive, and that was my biggest sporting achievement. And I've done one more since, and I'll make it 3 by the time I'm 40, I think.
Yeah. Anyone who lacks purpose can find, purpose in sports. I feel like some of the easiest things, for example, when I don't have anything planned for the day, at least if I hit the gym or something, some kind of workout or kind of some milestone, or healthy meal even, that gives me makes me feel good about the day,
100%. Doing something for yourself.
Yeah.
Doing something that is good for you. Sometimes that's getting a really tasty, calorific takeaway and enjoying that and not feeling guilty about that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we deserve that. And but you have to build positive habits as well. And honestly, I can say this hand on heart, I've never felt healthier than I do now at 35 years old. At 35, I am the fittest I've ever been. I've never regretted a workout. There are times where I really I'm literally dragging myself to the side of the pool.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, I'm floating.
The hardest part is getting there, going there.
100%. I've never regretted a workout. Never. And that's, it's on a sliding scale. So, some people, they have to, go out and run long distances to feel that. Some people, it might just be going for a walk. I honestly think that people don't give exercise enough of a chance. And it's not just about being in calorie deficits or whatever people kind of have their idea about what exercise is. It's just about giving your mind a break.
So how do you feel sports contributes to your mental health?
Massively. Massively. I could not function as efficiently as I do at 35 if I didn't have an outlet.
Yeah.
I learn lines better. after I've given myself a run out. I can't sit and meditate. I really do find people that do that to be incredible, because I can't sit there and focus in on my breath. But I do the same thing when I'm swimming.
Yeah.
All I'm doing is thinking about my breath.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to that same Zen state.
Yeah.
It's just I can't sit there and do nothing. It's not that meditating is doing nothing, but I need to be moving. And then as a consequence, I get to that same kind of Zen state. And I can never say at the end of, at the end of a yoga class, was it Namaste, they say? I can always feel awkward saying it. I'm getting into Pilates a bit, just to help out. You know, because although I feel very fit now, I am 35, so I think stretching and, you know, all of that kind of thing is a good thing to do.
I'm trying to get into stretching as well. For the past, I think 8 workouts, I've made sure that I've done some stretching.
100%.
But I used to not stretch at all. But I don't want to be this guy anymore who can't take a sticker off their back.
Yeah. But swimming, again, it's zero impact. So
Yeah.
it's such a brilliant workout. It works everything, you know, aerobic. Like it's a little bit of work on the muscles without it being an overload.
You're also an ambassador for an organization called CALMZONE.
Amazing.
So you've combined your platform with your, you know, passion towards mental health and fitness.
Well, I always said earlier in my career, if I, you know, because I've got friends that, you know, became very successful and they had platforms and using them for good. And I always thought that if I ever got into a situation where I had a platform, I would use it for good. And the opportunity came up to be an ambassador for the amazing mental health charity Campaign Against Living Miserably. And I started running a lot of triathlons and marathons for that charity and raising awareness of suicide, of mental health, of making sure people know it's okay to talk and to kind of lead by example. And not be this kind of like mysterious kind of guy that's in this show, but you don't know too much about him. It's like, well, no, let's talk about it. Let's talk about mental health. It's like, okay, you want to follow me on Instagram? Cool. This is what it's going to be about.
Yeah.
It's going to be about. Oh, look at this amazing charity. And if I can say, hey, look at this to however many followers, and a small percentage of them engage and donate and maybe are inspired to go and do a park run or whatever they need to do to help raise money, then that, you know, fills my heart with good feeling, because that's what, you know, the good side of social media.
Yeah.
It can be used for good.
Yeah, the tool, as you said. So what is CALMZONE exactly? Like, who is it helpful for?
So CALM stands for Campaign Against Living Miserably. So it's suicide prevention, essentially. Okay. It's sparking national conversation, getting rid of the stigma around suicide. They do some amazing kind of thought-provoking things. For example, they did a campaign about the last photo, which was the last photo that people had taken their own lives had, and it was all along the South Bank. And it's about not being able to spot it because they're smiling.
Yeah.
It's about making people comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
And they have a suicide prevention line that's open 365 days a year. I think if you go on Instagram and search CALMZONE or go on a search engine, it's all there. And it's sparking national conversation so people feel comfortable to talk about that. And we know that poor mental health is rife in this industry. And that's why I want to use whatever platform I have to make sure that people don't feel like that. Because I know what I felt like in my early 20s compared to what I feel like now. I've done a lot of work to get where I am now. And I used to compare myself. I used to feel like I'm not enough. And so I feel like now I'm in the position that I'm in. I can go, let's talk about it. Because that wasn't there when I was younger.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I've got something that I wouldn't mind shouting out.
Oh yeah.
Great.
Go ahead.
So this is one of the companies that partners with Calm, and they do these sexy looking hoodies. Boys Get Sad Too. Have you seen that?
Wow.
And they put 10% of their profits to Calm.
Okay.
Beautiful designs. They do T-shirts, all sorts, but the hoodies are really nice as well. Many different colours. So they make great gifts. I like to wear it out and about in public, even just coming here today, you just get so many people, you know, coming up and saying, "Oh, I really like your hoodie."
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's amazing the kind of people that come up. You know, I had a builder on the tube earlier come up and speak to me, and you know, this men holding their emotions in. And
Yeah.
I think it's nice for people to see that and say, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a boy and I get sad.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's one of my favorite companies that partner with Calm. So I just wanted to give a shout out. Lots of different designs and
Yeah.
they're brilliant.
Yeah, go check it out, guys. Looks cool. But you know, I don't know the statistics, but I think most of the people who've tried suicide but failed, they instantly regret it.
There's lots of thoughts on it, but it's 125 people a week on average.
So if you
sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's 125 on average. There's different kind of theories behind, you know, why there's more men than women. Sometimes it's to do with, you know, the thought could be that men don't feel comfortable to talk.
Mm-hmm.
The other is sometimes their attempts are more violent and more absolute. But it doesn't matter, male or female. It's something that we should be able to talk about.
Yeah.
And men, you know, are told to keep their emotions in.
Yeah.
That's just true.
Yes, it is.
There are examples where people are brought up and they're brought up being more emotionally open, but that's not the case in general.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're past that now. We say, okay, this statistic here is scary.
Yeah.
Why aren't we talking about it?
Mm.
And that's where I feel a real kind of pride to be the ambassador, or one of the ambassadors. They've got many, but one of the ambassadors for Calm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's important to me.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it, and I just want people to be able to talk.
Yeah, because suicide is a permanent solution.
Permanent solution to a temporary problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what the call centre's about. It's about people being able to call them 365 days a year. And the amazing workers, I think last year in 2023, they gave over 3 million minutes at the call centre. It's just so important because it helps people see another way out.
Yeah.
There's a light at the end of the tunnel, alternative kind of help. And sometimes it's just, I need to talk to someone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable talking to my family. I don't want to come across as weak or whatever thing they've got in their head. Sometimes it's somebody that's separate, that's just a listening ear.
Yeah, it's much easier to open up to someone you don't know necessarily, you know.
And I'll just encourage anyone, like if you've got that friend and you can think of that friend, I think we've all got one, you worry about them.
Yeah.
You can't put your finger on it. Ask them, send them a message. Don't DM them on social media.
Yeah, on Twitter.
Like now, like text messages seem really personal, right?
Yeah.
So now, like message them or call them. Mm-hmm. No, you know, alternative motive other than ask them how they are.
Yeah.
And then when they say fine, ask them again.
Yeah, because I feel like that's like a British thing. Yeah, how you doing? Good.
Fine.
How you're actually doing, you know?
And hold eye contact.
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. And then you can kind of read and, you know, maybe they're going to open up.
And that makes them, because it's not that they're lying to you, they're just gone into autopilot.
Yeah, yeah.
So ask them, are you sure? Is there anything you want to talk about? That repetition makes them really think about how they're feeling. Mm-hmm. And then you can have a conversation. Know that I'm here to talk.
Yeah.
Anytime, please. Be that little kind of valve to release that pressure. Now, obviously, like I'm not a professional. I'm not a mental health professional, but you can point them in the direction of people that are trained to do it. The people at the Calm call center. And that's an important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. Do you have any more races coming up at the moment?
So yeah, this summer I'm going to focus on shorter distance triathlon and some swimming events. I'm going to sign up for like a 5K swim, open water swim. And yeah, just try and change it up a bit. So I'm not just doing the same style of event all the time and challenges myself and keeps it interesting.
And that's also for charity, for Calm?
Yeah, any time I'm kind of running, whilst I'm, you know, anything that I kind of do will be to raise money for Calm. So, you know, I'll chuck a link up, or even if it's just a case of going, if you're inspired by this, please go and have a look on Calm's website. Because you can donate through the website. You don't have to just do it through the Just Giving page. You know?
So what else do you like doing in your free time?
So I made a promise to myself a couple of years ago that I'd go to more live music events.
Okay.
So karaoke is something I love to do. When I was last in LA, I was in Koreatown, which is known for its karaoke bars. Love that. Also, just going to more concerts. So I've just booked tickets to see Tyler Childers, who is like a country singer from America.
Oh, I love country.
Yeah. And he's playing in London. So going to that in a couple of weeks, and buzzing for that.
Yeah, a little honky tonk.
Oh, so it's just great. It's just great to sit there, beer in hand, and being entertained by great musicians with, someone like Tyler Childers. He's so raw when he sings. It's great. It's great to be in that atmosphere.
Yeah. And in terms of acting, do you have anything going on at the moment that you can talk about?
I've just wrapped on a film at the end of last year, which it's going to be good. The cast are sensational. It's William Tell, about William Tell, who famously crossbowed the apple off of his son's head.
Okay.
And that's in post-production at the moment. That'll be coming out later this year. In terms of projects at the moment, just keeping myself available, seeing what's coming. There's some things in the pipeline, so hopefully they'll come off.
Okay, we can see that you've gathered a lot of experience in this industry. So do you feel that you've made it?
I don't know what that means. I've never known what that means. Because my mindset is like, what is making it?
Yeah.
Is it never having to worry about money again? That's certainly not the case. In today's climate, I could always be working more.
Yeah.
Have I achieved what I thought I could achieve when I was younger? I probably exceeded what I thought I could do. So that just makes me more hungry.
Yeah.
And not in a way where I'm going, I need to do something else. Obviously, there's frustrations when you're not working as much as you want to work. But I always think of it this way. If I compare myself to last month, it'll feel like I'm not making any progress.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go back 5 years, I've made huge progress.
Yeah.
If I go back 10 years, I've made massive progress. If I was to go back and talk to my younger self, trying to get into drama school, my dream back then was just go to drama school.
Mm-hmm.
To sit here now at 35 and say I've done some of the jobs that I've done, 18-year-old me would have bitten my hand off. So if you ask me at 18, yes.
Yeah.
If you ask me now, no. But mainly because I understand the industry more than I did when I was 18.
Yeah.
So I feel like I want people to be inspired by the fact that I come from very, very little.
Mm-hmm.
Like very little. And I do believe that if those opportunities can happen for somebody like me, please don't be disheartened, because I believe that those opportunities will be available. It's just, like I say, just don't give up.
Yeah.
And there's such a cliche to say, but it just saying, just don't give up, don't give up. Get it? It's hard. It's so hard. But sure, go and do something else for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But don't quit being an actor. I don't think you're either an actor or you're not. It doesn't matter whether you're working as an actor at the time. I think it's important to remember why you're doing it and go and do something else so you can, pay your bills.
Yeah.
Don't ever stop being an actor.
Mm-hmm.
If your heart's really in it, because there are times there are prolonged periods of time where I don't work. But I never say I'm not an actor anymore.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I am where my 18-year-old self would want to be at this point. Mm. But I don't think, I think at the moment I go, I've made it, is the moment you stop trying. And you always got to remain hungry.
Yeah, I think Matthew McConaughey said it, that his idol is always himself in 10 years.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing
yeah,
that.
So, you can never make it. You always have room to grow, and you always have kind of...
Well, you're only really as good as your next job.
Yeah.
And if you get to a point where you're content, I think that hunger would then go. Mm-hmm. You always want to remain hungry for it.
Yeah.
I think that's important, and wanting to see how far you can push it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've done this now, maybe I'll do this. I've done some brilliant productions and I've played great supporting roles. Why not now have the ambition to play a lead?
Yeah.
18-year-old me would say, where I am now would be impossible.
Yeah.
But why not in 10 years time when I'm 45, make that my goal.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what's brilliant about this industry. It might not take 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect part could come
Today.
you don't know when you're going to get that phone call or that email or that audition where it just clicks. I just think it's important to stay hungry and optimistic to a point where you believe that things could happen.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. You got to have something to fight for.
I mean, we all know this world is depressing enough when you turn the news on in the morning and it feels like the world's burning.
Yeah.
You've got to have a little bit of pride in yourself.
What's the best advice you've ever heard or received?
That's a really good question. The best bit of advice that I've heard, I can't remember the actor that said it, but you've got to be able to sustain yourself in this industry. So if you do get a nice paycheck, treat yourself, buy yourself something that you've wanted to buy, a new laptop or whatever, but you've got to sustain yourself. So don't be silly with your money.
Yeah.
If you get a nice paycheck, put it away, because from my experience, you're going to need that money at some point. Because it's sort of, for me, every decision I make is about longevity.
Okay.
I want to work with that director. I want to work with that writer. Okay, cool. Okay, I need to keep myself available. Therefore, I might need to call on this at some point. Make sure that, when you're starting out, if you get a nice pay packet from a job, get those new headshots.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's some good advice.
Yeah.
Is don't fall into the trap of I'm an actor, I need to live this celebrity life.
Think about the long game.
It's smoke and mirrors, because it could all end tomorrow.
Yeah.
And your aim is to still be there in 10 years, so that casting directors go, okay,
yeah,
fair.
yeah.
you're still going for it.
Yeah.
And I get it. And it's there are people, life happens, and they have to go to other careers, families, and the rest of it. This is difficult, and I've got friends that have left the industry, and there's no judgment in that. I applaud them. It's brave to turn your back on something that you love. For me, at the moment, I'm not in a situation where I have kids. That's something I want in the future. I like to believe that I'm always going to be an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And I still believe that my friends that have left the industry, there's nothing to say that in 20 years' time, the industry's still going to be there.
Yeah. So
they can make a return. That perfect part could come in. I've had friends that have left the industry for 3 years, and then a casting director calls them.
Mm.
And they say, look, I don't know if you're doing this anymore, but this part's come in, and I really do think you'd be perfect for it. And then suddenly they're out of retirement.
Yeah.
So you can never take it as an absolute.
What's the worst advice you ever heard or received?
It's more of a advice or a belief that I've developed,
mm-hmm.
which is always be ready and always do the audition. So yes, in a sense, always be prepared, but you're a human being, and you can't just stop life because of the industry. I remember a particular show I was in. They weren't going to give me time off to go to my friend's wedding.
Okay.
So it was a little extension of a contract. I said, yeah, I'm happy to extend, but I need this day off because my friend's getting married. And they said, no NAs, I'm afraid. I said, all right, I won't do it then.
Mm.
People are like, oh my God, you said no. It's like, oh, but my friend's getting married.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll do the contract. I'm asking for one day off. They have cover. So this was a theatre show. So, and then they turned around and said, okay, you can have that day off. So, so the worst bit of advice is always put the acting first.
Yeah.
That's nonsense. We're human beings. Life happens.
Mm-hmm.
There are more important things. When I was at drama school, we got contracted out to do pantos and things like that. So the dame that was in our show, his wife was taken ill. Straight out the door. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. The show must go on. No, that's nonsense. The show, in my opinion, yes, it's important, but life is more important.
Yeah.
Family, friends, all of that, all of the above. Don't give up any of that for a contract or an audition. Negotiate. Say you want this, you want that. don't be scared to ask for things.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you so much for being here, man.
I appreciate it. I know I do waffle on sometimes, so thanks for listening.
Thanks a lot to people watching, listening. Make sure you come back. See ya.